Well, it could be said that Russia's Vladimir Putin has emerged as a quote-unquote winner in elections in many countries of late. US President-elect Donald Trump is said to be an admirer of Putin. On top of that, both Bulgaria and Moldova have elected pro-Moscow presidents. And here in France, Francois Fillon, the man widely tipped to win the centre-right primaries and make a strong bid for the Elysee Palace, has been hailed by the Russian leader as a great professional. The two reportedly enjoyed a good working relationship while working as their country's prime ministers. A shift in the status quo is perhaps afoot. Well, despite tensions with the West over Ukraine and Syria, not to mention tensions with NATO as it expands closer to the Russian border, Vladimir Putin looks set to extend his power of influence. With us to discuss all of this is today's live guest, Elena Servettaz from RFI's Russia service. You're very welcome to the program, Elena.
Thank you for having me here.
Now, Russophiles are popping up in all manner of places, not least of all in the United States, where you were earlier this month covering the elections. Trump has expressed admiration for Putin and vice versa, but it remains to be seen how this admiration will actually play out in practical terms. What's the attraction between these two men, do you think? And can we really expect relations to be as friendly as what observers think?
Correct. We have to watch these relationships in the long term. But if you watch the discussion or what Russian opposition had recently, one of the main figures of Russian opposition, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who was not so long ago in Brussels, he said this honeymoon will end very soon and we'll be enjoying to seeing it. Of course, the Russia-US relationship during Obama administration period was very tough, was very cruel from both sides, but we should not expect that the fact that Donald Trump is admiring Vladimir Putin will help him to promote his agenda, because Vladimir Putin raised his power on this kind of Cold War. He has to have an enemy abroad. He has to prove Russian people why we have so many problems in the economy, why we are so poor, why there is these sanctions. And one of the reasons to explain all this to people, it's the United States. So I don't really believe that with Trump we'll have this the new race set up and new level of Russian-American relationship.
Sure, and that's an interesting point that you make there. The US and Russia, they've been arch rivals for so long. A lot of Putin's popularity at home has revolved around him appearing very strong, particularly towards the United States. So how strange or how difficult do you think it will be for this new dynamic?
You know, I just checked how many Russians support the United States, and so only 28%, according to Levada Center, which is perceived as a foreign agent in Russia, because it's termed that Russian authorities want to deport. And earlier in May, it was only 19% of Russian people who supported this kind of relation. So we'll have to wait. And, Donald Trump is still president-elect. It's not president in power. So that the story will begin in January. So we'll have to watch it very in details.
Intently, yeah. Putin, he may pay a price at home for his friendship with Trump. But what do you think the normalizing of US-Russia relations could mean practically? Where are the places, for example, we might expect to see Russian policy change?
You know, it's very bizarre because today Vladimir Putin was, he was asking one young boy, 9-year-old boy, and he was asking, where is the border? He asked exactly, where do Russians' border end? And so this 9-year-old boy, he's answering, giving the right answer, the Berlin Strait. And Vladimir Putin said, Russian border never ends and do not anywhere. So speaking about about NATO and United States, you will, it's not surprising. It's Vladimir Putin. He was always this way, and I don't know where he will be close to Donald Trump exactly on one each issue, maybe on Syrian issue, which is a very important issue for Francois Fillon, French politician who raised up after the first tour of the election. So maybe Syrian issue will bring both politicians together, but still. There are question of Ukraine. I don't know who will solve this problem. Will Obama's administration be able to solve this problem until January? It doesn't look this way.
Unlikely.
Yeah. Unlikely, exactly.
I do want to talk about Fillon, but I did want to make the point, though, that there's been a lot of rhetoric, a lot of talk about this new Cold War. And do you think it is fair to say, though, that despite the criticisms, it might actually be preferable to have Trump and Putin working together to forge perhaps a new geopolitical alignment?
Of course, it's all the time preferable to have a peaceful world where everything is calm and everything is pinky rose, but it was not the case if you analyze the situation since already Vladimir Putin came to power in early 2000. So until now, it was never the case. He has a lot of allies all over the world. There is people in European Parliament. There is people in U.S. Congress who will endorse Putin by different ways. Who will, for example, raise Putin's question in the Foreign Affairs Committee or in Human Rights Committee, and they will try to prove that it's not exactly the picture that Russian human rights defenders are giving us. So there is always people who are helping Vladimir Putin. But today, in European Parliament, they discuss the Putin's issue, and there was an ex-Belgian minister who said, so we have to stop this behavior and we have to get rid of this kind of politicians and just to build our own future as, independent Europe and not just watching all the time what Moscow will say and how they will react.
Here in France, the polls suggest that Francois Fillon and Marine Le Pen will be the candidates most likely to battle it out for the presidency next year. Both are quite friendly towards Putin. Putin just yesterday praised Fillon as a great professional, saying that he had a very good relationship with him. How do you think that Franco-Russian relations stand to change under these potential future French leaders, Fillon and Le Pen?
It would be great for Vladimir Putin. I think he's dreaming about Francois Fillon or Marine Le Pen being the president. But Putin never publicly endorsed Marine Le Pen. She did many times, but he never approached her, never told that she was a great politician. As for Fillon, he stated this several times. They have a long relationship since Vladimir Putin was prime minister. They were traveling together. They were working together on a space program, and a cultural program, an economic program, and we remember when Francois Fillon lost his mother in 2013, Vladimir Putin was the one who sent him a bottle of wine of 1931, the year of Francois Fillon's mother was born. So,
they do have a history, and we've seen photos of the two of them emerging in the newspapers today of their time working together as prime ministers.
Exactly. And not so long ago, like a few days ago, I talked to Francois Fillon, advisor on Russia. And so he clearly said, for example, that we have to lift off the sanctions. We have to work and cope together on Syrian issue. We have to work with Vladimir Putin and Bashar al-Assad. But there is a question which is very important for the Ukrainian community, for example. They are seeing the annexation of Crimea as an occupation. So they will try to work together on some issues, but still Francois Fillon has to faire face, as we say in France. And because, Minister of Foreign Affairs in France, they already said it's unacceptable. They're broken the rules, they're broken the law. So he will try to deal and negotiate in both fields.
Okay, friends in all kinds of places are popping up for the Russian President Vladimir Putin there. Our thanks to Elena Servettaz from RFI's Russia service for being on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for here on Paris Live PM. Thanks for being tuned into the program today with me, Amanda Morrow. Paris Live AM will be back at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Do join us then. Bye-bye.